The World Tourism Organization recognizes over 30 types, varieties and directions of tourism. Which one of them is the most massive and popular? Statistics say that the majority of people travel to participate in various events like Olympic Games, championships, festivals, carnivals and forums. The so-called event tourism is not only the most massive, but also the oldest. Apparently, it had appeared long before the provincial residents started traveling to Rome to watch gladiator fights. Back in the Bronze Age, guests from the most remote corners of the Great Steppe gathered to perform joint rituals and elect their leaders. People are interested not only in worldwide scale events, but also in regional, district and even rural level ones. Now that tourism has become a business, its organizers have to demonstrate a lot of wit, talent and imagination while coming up with events capable of attracting potential tourists. Agritourism allows small territories to develop. Accordingly, villages make profit. This type of tourism also allows bridging large cities and small villages, as well as provides a lot of impressions to tourists and guests. In rural areas, we prefer calling them guests. Going to nature, they not only get closer to it, but also to locals. Ancient cultural and sports traditions of the Kazakh people like kokbar, taiga, berkuchi and poetic competitions, the varieties, can be also deemed event tourism. These types of leisure not only entertained people but also educated them, as well as helped preserving the ancient culture and acquire new knowledge. Today, modern types of events, team buildings, field seminars and competitions have supplemented the traditional types of outdoor activities. Agritourism allows rural residents to earn 12 months a year, and our guests, urban residents, can also travel to the countryside all year round and expand their horizon not only in tourist centers operating 3 months a year at most. Today we will get acquainted with event tourism in East Kazakhstan region. We will travel to the town of Rida to participate in the Altai Golden Fest Ethno-Festival. Its organizers decided to attract the attention of the tourist community to their hometown. In the evening, a concert will take place in the town center, so we have an entire day to do some sightseeing around Rida. Here on the outskirts of Rida, there are a lot of remains of old and collapsed mines built back in the late 18th century by Philip Rida. As you can see, the majority of them are already overgrown with birch and aspen. In 1780, the expedition led by the mining engineer Rida began surveying the ranges of the western Altai. The outcomes exceeded all expectations. In 1786, the Rida Sokolnaya polymetallic ore deposit was discovered. The content of gold, silver and lead in the samples turned out very high. This here is a ventilation shaft, once letting the air deep into the mountain. Already in 1786, they launched the mine operations, and 3 years later, an enrichment and a smelting plant were built nearby. In 1958, 200 years later, they discovered the large Tishinskoye field not far away. A few kilometers away, the pipes of the modern polymetallic production can be seen. The mining industry in the Rudny Altai has been developing quite rapidly. Now, 2 mines operate in Rida, Tishinsky and Rida Sokolny, as well as the mining and processing and metallurgical complexes, all of them part of the Kazink group of companies. The woods begin right beyond the industrial zone, the endless western Altai taiga. This is exactly where we are heading. North of Rida, there rises the Uba Ridge, in the south, the Ivanovsky, and in the east, the Koksu ridges. Previously, the taiga residents were mainly engaged in beekeeping, hunting and fishing. Tray miners washed gold along local rivers. Logging was carried out only along the forest periphery where the roads allowed it. When the new type of activity, tourism, appeared, it turned out that not all forest dwellers were ready for it. Not to mention that not all city travel agents were aware of the potential that the West Altai taiga had. Yet, gradually, the information about local tourist resources has reached large cities. Today we have 34 tourist sites in our town, including 17 recreation centers, hotels, 2 mountain ski resorts, both fitted with chairlifts. Our main focus is winter sports. Many people come both from Kazakhstan and countries of near and far abroad. In the park near the local Palace of Culture, local artisans staged a small exhibition sale of souvenirs and art objects. The park is fun and bizarre. People are wearing fancy costumes. Although a small town, Rida is rich in folk talents. There are singers, musicians and choreographic groups. The famous ethno band Turgan Kam demonstrate their virtuoso throat-singing performance. Many Turkic peoples used this musical technique to perform long epic tales. The festival's solemn part is over, but the most interesting is yet to come. We are heading into the real taiga. The Black Uba River originates on the western slopes of the Uba Ridge. 70 kilometers from the source, it merges with the White Uba River and flows further under the name of the Uba. The eponymous eco village on the Black Uba appeared several years ago at the site of an apiary and hunting farm. We will spend a couple of days here with other festival guests and then want to trek with tents along one of the local eco-trails to get acquainted with the beauties of the western Altai taiga and, if possible, its animal world. We do not specialize in such mass events. Usually it's quite calm and quiet at our base camp, the Black Uba Eco-Village. We focus on individual tours, both ornithological and ecological, as well as various long-distance hiking. Some come here to observe and photograph animals, some to fish, others to admire nature and take beautiful photos. After all, the opportunity to simply relax in silence and peace is a unique gift of nature to a modern human. It's so romantic. You simply come into the wild where everything is so natural and gorgeous. Clean air, clean rivers, we just love it. This is how we like it, and I don't consider it cumbersome. I always tell people not to be afraid, just take tents and go. We came here for the Golden Altai Festival because we love such events. You learn a lot about local culture, customs and traditions. We have our own performance a little later. Come and see. Reality is harsh. We get enough of it in our daily lives. For this reason, while on a vacation, we are looking for little miracles, willing to immerse ourselves in the world of fairy tales, myths and legends. The prospects of rural tourism in our country are quite good. The demand is high as well. Now small villages are dying, but agritourism gives them a chance to survive economically and culturally and show the preserved traditional culture to guests. In addition, it allows keeping the youth from leaving to cities. In case your village doesn't have luxurious beaches like in Turkey or great urban architecture like in Venice, but you have imagination and a big heart, everything will work out. We live in a small village in Yermentau district with no attractions, but there are people there willing to receive guests. One grandmother, for example, simply greets her guests with a samovar and baursaks. Her son stopped working in construction and moved to the village to help his mother. There is no entertainment industry in the taiga, but it doesn't matter. Right behind our porch, there begins forest full of beauty and miracles, secrets and mysteries. We will come up with something to entertain ourselves, and we will definitely not be bored. I really like it in the forest. Only the bears bite hard. To collect mushrooms in a fantasy forest, you need a special headdress.
Мы поведем наших гостей на смотровые площадки.
We will take our guests to the observation decks. For ordinary urban dwellers, it is already very exciting. It's like a treehouse. Sitting at the height of 2-3 meters, the chances of seeing a real animal like an elk, morel or roe deer are high. It's so impressive when you sit in complete silence looking around and every rustle excites you. The volunteer team is ready for a little adventure. We are going on an eco-tour in search of a bear. Scared? Not at all. Moving along the trail is easy, but as soon as you turn into the taiga, fallen trees, shrub thickets, swamps and steep cliffs start immediately blocking your way. Thus, we will not take risk. We will cross the river using the old, proven way. Rope crossing in a cradle looks exciting. Let's feel ourselves like true pathfinders. Hides or high seats for animal observation are usually installed at a height. On the one hand, this is a precaution against a possible bear attack, and on the other hand, the wind spreads odors horizontally, so the higher you climb, the less likely the animal will smell you. Do you see the bear claw marks? This is how high it can reach. Look, there are marks even higher. This is how they demonstrate their social status. The higher it can reach, the better. It's like Instagram for them. We need to sit quietly and not moving. Maybe in the evening they will come out. Who? Roe deer, morels, or even a bear. For locals, mushroom picking is work. For urban residents, it is also a type of outdoor activity. The main feature of the Altai, and especially Kazakhstan's western Altai, is the virginity of nature. Whereas the festival's primary task is to help suppliers and consumers of tourist services establish mutually beneficial collaborations, its secondary task is to promote experience sharing between successful tourism operators and the residents of remote areas who decided to try their hand in tourism. Many representatives of travel agencies have come to the Western Altai for the first time. The impressions are merely overwhelming. You have to come and see, feel, experience this for yourself. It's incredible. We live in such a rich country with such a unique nature. Guests are getting ready to go home, but for us the most interesting things are still ahead. The festival is over, and Lyova and I will leave this hunting hut for a hike. The taiga is all around us, the mountain taiga specifically. It means that each plant community occupies its own altitude belt. Floodplain woods along rivers, mountain coniferous taiga just above the ridges, cedar groves a little higher, and alpine tundra along watersheds and peaks. Do you know this plant? It's Jungarian aconite. They poisoned Socrates with it. He, by the way, described the process of his own death. Wildlife watching is a very exciting type of ecotourism requiring endurance, patience, and a lot of time. There are many places in the world specially prepared for tourists where the unspoiled representatives of local fauna can be easily observed through the car window or from the observation deck. The taiga is totally different. To see a bear or a moral, you will have to sit in ambush for several days. It used to be the only way to film wild beasts. So there were few animal photographers. Now millions of tourists travel around the world for the sake of posting a couple of great images on the internet. The view is quite good here. Modern technology comes to the rescue. Video recorders can spend several months in the forest instead of you. They are not afraid of rain, cold, or hunger. They do not get tired and don't need to rush anywhere. With the help of photo traps, you can take great pictures of animal life. Among wildlife photographers, such shots are not considered prestigious, but for hunting workers, they have great practical value. The bear is marking the boundaries of its plot. If a competitor suddenly wanders in, by the scratches on the tree, it will determine how dangerous the plot owner is and will probably leave to avoid conflict. Elk seems clumsy. Surprisingly, such a giant can move without making a slightest noise. Roe deer has to always be on the lookout. There are too many predators in the woods. Moral is very cautious. Just recently, he has grown new antlers, the so-called velvet antlers, covered with delicate skin. This curious animal is called piping hare or haymaker because they collect hay and put up small hay piles. We will just take a bit to make a good base for our tent. In the fresh air, the sleep is always sound, although the night-covered taiga is full of rustles and sounds. What if it is a bear sneaking up to the tent? Not this time. Spending the night in a forest full of predators may seem a little dangerous, but the impressions will last for an entire year. This time, we got lucky. All safe and sound, and fully energized, we are returning home.